Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the all-new 2023 Toyota Sequoia. Huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this massive SUV for me today. Check out their website because they have a huge selection of pretty much brand new inventory. That link is down in the description. So the Sequoia that you see behind me is the limited with the TRD Offroad package. It's finished off in black. And we'll go over the MSRP once we get this out on the road and go over all of these specs and features to see if it can justify that MSRP. So we'll start off with what powers the all-new Sequoia. This has a 3.5-liter twin-turbo hybrid V6 paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission. The electric motor has 184 horsepower and 48 pound-feet of torque. Combined with the engine, this puts out 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque. The Limited is rear-wheel drive. However, with the TRD Offroad package, this truck is also four-wheel drive as well. It weighs in right around 6,100 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. And it also has a fuel capacity of 22.5 gallons. You'll expect to see around 19 miles per gallon in the city, 22 out on the highway. This also has a wheelbase of 122 inches. Its overall length is 208.1. It has a width of 79.8, a height of 74.6. Its ground clearance measures in at 9.1 inches, and it also has an approach angle of 23 degrees and a breakover angle of 20 degrees. As we move on to the exterior styling now for the all-new Sequoia, let's start off with the massive grille. So the Sequoia, in a sense, has a similar design to the all-new Tundra, gives it a beefy and wide appearance, especially for the size, but it also matches it very nicely. Now the Toyota badge is front and center, finished off in chrome with the blue surrounding it, meaning that this is a hybrid model, of course. The forward-facing camera is just underneath that, along with a sensor. There's even parking sensors running throughout the middle section of the front end. And this even has the LED headlights, DRLs, and then the turn signals are in the lower section there. Pretty large housing, but it matches very nicely, especially with the rest of the bodywork surrounding it. Now this grille also has plenty of cutouts to provide a lot of cooling to that engine. There's more cutouts in the lower section, even the LED fog lights in that trim piece that matches nicely running throughout it. And there's even more cutouts just above both parking sensors on the far areas, combined with the lower air dam to provide this with even better aerodynamics for such a massive SUV. Now the lines running down the hood also have a nice design to them. I really like how beefy this front end is. From this angle right here, it almost looks like a Tundra if you can't quite see the back end of it. So you could mistake this for a Tundra in the right angles. Now, as we work our way to the side, like I mentioned earlier, this is the limited with the TRD Offroad package. So that provides it with these 18-inch wheels and the 33-inch tires. Have a great two-tone design to them. This also has the TRD tuned suspension. Now there is a gray trim running around the fender flares, which is a nice touch to see. There's the iForce Max badge on the hood, limited badge down below finished off in chrome, and then the massive tow mirrors. There's also a camera underneath each one as part of the 3D camera system, and then we have the split design for the mirror, and these also extend outward. So if you are towing with this, you can get a little bit better visibility. Such a massive mirror, but it's going to be very helpful when you have a trailer behind this. Now this also has a full panoramic sunroof. There's more chrome trim surrounding the lower section of the windows. It's also on the door handles too. This has fixed running boards, which is interesting to see for the TRD Offroad, but they are there to help you enter and exit. And you'll notice too, there's a really cool line that goes just above the rear door handle all the way to the taillights, where the TRD Offroad badge is nicely placed just above that. And then as we work our way to the rear, this has a body-colored spoiler with the integrated third brake light. The wiper blade is in the lower section. There's a chrome trim piece right in the middle of the power liftgate with the LED taillights on both sides. The backup camera is also underneath that trim piece. There's all the parking sensors, some more of that brushed trim, which matches nicely with the trim piece up front. This can also tow up to around 9,000 pounds, which is pretty impressive for the size and for the engine. And as we work our way to the rear cargo area, let's start off with this glass piece, because I can just push on this button to release it and open this up. So if you have some smaller items, you don't need to waste time opening up the lift gate. You can quickly do that, which is nice to see. Now there's 3 different ways to open up the lift gate. You have the key fob, the button to the left of the backup camera, or I can kick up underneath where you will hear it beep. The power liftgate will open up. You can do the same thing to close that. So if your hands are full, it's a very cool feature to have. Now the Sequoia is a 3-row vehicle, so with the 3rd row up, you have a little bit of storage where you could still place some items. There's a small cover if you need to hide any of those items too. And then with the 3rd row, it's pretty configurable as far as being able to do a few different things. So you have the electronic buttons that you just have to push once. You'll see the headrest fold down. The entire 3rd row will go down. It is a slow process, but nonetheless, you have the automatic adjustment. And then on the back of it, you can actually slide these seats forwards and backwards. So if you need a little bit more room, if I push that all the way forwards, you can see you have a little bit more storage if you need to do that. And then you can quickly grab on this, slide it back, and push on both of those buttons, and the seats will go back up. So like I said, it's a pretty slow process, but it's nice that you don't have to do them manually. So you do have a good amount of space even with them folded down. You have a little bit of a step there, but you still have plenty of room to put in any items, especially for the size. Now up on the top, I'm just going to push this button on the left side. The one on the right side will lock the vehicle, and then like I mentioned earlier, you can kick your foot up underneath to close that if you need to. From this angle, this has a pretty cool look to it. In a sense, it is a Tundra with 3 rows. So as we work our way to the back seating area now, you'll notice right now the sunshade is currently up for this side, so it's nice to have that. There's chrome trim on the release handle, even some more brush trim underneath the grab handle where there's a little bit of storage in the door, a lot more in the lower section. There's also 1 speaker and then a matte black trim piece surrounding that window control. For the interior, this has a combination of the Softex leather as well as leather. The insert running down them has a really cool design to them. And we're gonna move on to the 3rd row now. I'm just gonna pull on this handle where with one hand, I can flip that seat up very, very quickly. And at 5'10", I can climb the little stairs to gain access into the 3rd row. So you can see with the 2nd row where it is right now, I have plenty of room. I have no complaints, plenty of room for my feet and my legs. Now my head is just up against the headliner here, especially for that middle seat. It's a little bit on this side too, but with this control over here, I can actually recline the seat where it didn't really help that much. But if you had to be back here, especially at my height, I could make it work. It's more for smaller kids. If you're hauling a lot of kids and you need this size vehicle, you have a lot of space for 6 people plus the 2 front passengers. Now over on this side is the other control to recline that back seat. So it's nice to have those. There's 2 cup holders, the armrest, a little bit of storage. The 3rd row even gets the sunshade adjustments. So it makes you very comfortable in the back. There's even an air vent up top on each side too. And then a USB-C in the back there, so you can still charge electronics. And you can even adjust these seats by pulling on this here, so you can slide them forwards and backwards, just like you saw from behind them. So if you need a little bit more room in the back and you can sacrifice some leg room here, this also has the all-weather floor mats, as you can see. And then with that seat still up, it's easy to work my way out. Now I can just push the seat down, lift it up into place, and we are good to go. Now there's also a button just behind this where you can fold down that 3rd row, just like you saw from the back area there. So if you need to do that, you can, which is a nice shortcut to have. And then with the side step and the grab handle, I can easily make my way into the 2nd row where I have plenty of room for my feet and my legs. There's also a storage pocket behind both front seats, 2 cup holders in the middle, along with the 3rd zone climate adjustment, so you can quickly go through all of those. And there's a 3-prong outlet and some other auxiliaries where you can charge electronics. Now, as far as headroom goes for the 2nd row, I have around 2 or 3 inches above my head. I can even further recline these seats and be a lot more comfortable. Plenty of headroom with the seat all the way back. So it's nice and spacious, even for 3 people in the 2nd row. Now, right in the middle, there are 2 more cup holders along with the armrest. And while this is a long vehicle, a little bit of a pillar right there, it's actually been pretty easy to see around, even just driving it here. We'll go over that once we get this out on the road, of course. And then as we work our way to the driver interior now, door panels finish off just like the rear. However, there's the addition of the memory seating adjustments, all the window controls, side mirror adjustments. You can fold the power folding side mirrors. The vehicle does have to be on in order to do that. You'll see there's a little bit more storage in the middle and plenty of storage in the lower section of that door. And then we have the same materials for these front seats. I'm really digging this pattern running down the inserts. I think it gives it a really nice touch. And then with the side step, another grab handle, so everyone can easily jump up into this truck We'll take a look at the steering wheel where it has solid and perforated leather. There's also more of this trim in the lower section. Now on this left side, there's Bluetooth and voice commands along with volume. You can use all these to go through that all new digital gauge cluster, which we'll come back to. On this right side, there's the distance pacing for the cruise control adjustments along with mode for the radio and the lane keeping assist. But let's fire up this TRD Offroad. That red button is over on the right side and we can bring this to life. And as we look at this all new digital gauge cluster, on the right side you can see max along with the battery voltage and the I-force for the PSI for the twin turbo system. There's also the fuel gauge and the engine temperature. The tach and miles per hour are front and center. And then over on the far left side, you can go through all of this using those controls on the steering wheel. So currently it's showing distance until empty, along with average MPG. We can also look at an eco meter. And then if I scroll over, you can pull up the navigation or the compass there. There's the audio when you have that on. You can even look at your trailer system here. So when you have that on and running, you can go through all that information along with your trip distance, look at your tire pressure. There's a lot of standard safety features like the lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring, all the parking sensors, which you can turn on and off. You can even customize what you'd like to see on the right side, look at your trailer settings, even vehicle settings. And then the last one is messages. So it's nice that you have all of that front and center. And as we work our way to the left side of the steering wheel, there is a cargo light in the back. So when you open up the liftgate, you can have that on or off. There's the automatic headlights along with the fuel cap release. There's a dimmer switch for the gauges, the trip odometer. You have some standard safety features that you can turn on and off. There's also the power button for the side mirrors. So just by pushing on that, you can have them go in or go out, just depending on if you're towing or not. There's also a spotlight on the cameras. There's the 3-prong outlet located in the back that you can turn on and off. You have the heated steering wheel and then some other dimmer switches. There's also one air vent. And then as we work our way to the center, this is the all new infotainment system. Measures right around 14 inches. You can get navigation in this if you'd like to. There's also shortcuts to music. You can go into the phone when you have that paired. And then going onto the car icon, you can go through your current miles per hour along with your range. You have different history that you can go into. You can even look at a graph over on that right side. And if I go back to vehicle alert, you can look at any messages that you may have here. So a little bit of info that you can go through. And then settings has a lot more info that you can scroll through, just depending on how you'd like to have this set up and all of the features that you'd like to go through. So not a lot of info, but I love the size of the screen. It definitely gives you a lot of graphics. And then working our way underneath that, power and volume for the radios on this left side with a really cool twist knob. I love the pattern running around it. Right in the middle, there are a lot of toggle switches. So these outer ones will control the temperature. Fan speed is right in the middle. You have where you'd like the air to go. The one in the middle here is for the rear. So now we can adjust that third zone climate just by using that control. Underneath that, you'll see the heated and ventilated seat controls for driver and passenger, along with a few other recircs, even the heated side mirrors too, laid out very nicely with a USB over on that right side. And then underneath that, if I put this vehicle into reverse right now and click on view, you can actually go through all of the camera angles for this. Like I mentioned earlier, this has a 360-degree view, so you have so many different angles that you can click on and go through. You can even adjust the guidelines as well. You have an auto, and then if I push on this one here for the off-road settings, now we have a lot more angles. It's currently showing the backup camera right now along with the side view angles. So if you're taking your Sequoia off-road, you pretty much have no blind spots. There's even the pitch and roll right in the middle. And if I shut that off, we go back to the normal rear view camera. So it is pretty cool that you have all of these different views for this. To the right of that is traction control along with the hazards. This even has a locking rear differential. There's two blanks over on this right side, so I'm not sure what other options you can get for the Sequoia. But as we work our way underneath that, you'll see the electronic parking brake along with the auto hold. There's a lot more storage space just underneath that where you can place your phone or other items. There's also two cup holders, and we can close that up with this nice trim piece. And then as we work our way back to the shifter, you'll see the TRD badge just on the back side. This is finished off in leather. If I put it into drive, you'll see the cameras pop up with the top-down view as well, and we have some forward-facing angles right now. You can also put this into the manual settings, so you can shift if you're off-road or towing. That is very helpful to have. You'll see the shift pattern over on that left side too. And then behind that, this is the four-wheel drive selector on this left side. So just by pushing on this, you can go through those different modes. There's even different driving modes for this too. So by pushing on drive modes, so we can go into sport mode. There's also normal and then eco mode too, just depending on how you'd like to drive this. On the right side of that, there's also a tow and haul, so you can use that as needed. And with the TRD Offroad package, you even get crawl control and the multi-terrain select. So you do have to be in four-wheel drive in order to operate this, but it's very cool to have the different settings for off-roading as well as your cruise control basically for off-roading too. So it's nice that those are incorporated. Now as we work our way to the center armrest, it has a unique design to it where you can actually see through with it still closed, but on each side of these front armrests, you can push on that and the entire section will open up where you have a massive amount of space. There's also some auxiliaries and a little bit of storage in the lower section. But if you need to quickly grab something, you have the option to do that. Pretty neat to see that. And then over on the passenger side, there's the glove box where you have all of that additional room if you need it. We'll take another look at this interior with the full moonroof open right now. Definitely very spacious and a much needed update. Now up in the top, you'll notice that on this side, you can open and close the power liftgate. You have the sunshade and sunroof adjustments. There's even a sunglass holder in the far section. And this also has the dome lights on both sides. Now that we're setting off behind the wheel for the all-new and redesigned Toyota Sequoia, it has been much needed for this model. Toyota is known for letting their models go for an extended period of time before they get a refresh or an update, and the Sequoia was definitely on that list for something completely different. So for the all-new Sequoia, it starts right around $57,000. We are in the limited TRD Offroad, so that is going to be a little bit more expensive, of course, but you can get into one right around $60,000, depending on the options and the trim levels that you go with. There are a lot of different models for the Sequoia, again, just depending on your budget and what you're looking to get. So in the TRD Offroad, we have some off-roading goodies and a lot of technology for the price that you're paying for this. I think it's pretty cool. Now with this Sequoia, it's probably not going to be seeing off the pavement too often, but you have the crawl control, which I have in my Toyota Tacoma. I'm sure it's a very similar system. You can go through mud and rocks, sand, different terrain settings like that with the multi-terrain select as well. And then you have basically cruise control for off-road in the crawl control settings, so you don't even have to monitor the gas or the braking. How often will that be used in this? I'm not all that sure, but it's awesome to see that you can do that. You have that technology where you can go off the pavement, especially if you haven't been off-road before or you're new to it. You can use these settings as long as you know which ones to use, and that can help you in assisting you in those off-roading settings. So just for that alone, I think the Sequoia is worth it. And now with the all-new revised or brand new engine, it seems to be pretty healthy, especially for the weight of this vehicle. Like I said, I'll be driving the V8, which was in the older model. That is no more. We have a just under 3.5 liter twin turbo hybrid V6, and it's got some good pep to it. I wouldn't say this is underpowered by any means, pumping out a lot of horsepower and torque, but I think the new design here is pretty awesome. We have so much more of a upscale and updated interior, especially with the size of the screen, the digital gauge cluster, and just the amount of information that you can go through. So for a $60,000, let's say to $80,000 SUV, depending on the trim that you go with, I can see this being justifiable. It's a big, big SUV. If you need 3 rows and you want, you know, the Sequoia, you want this big SUV that's kind of like the Land Cruiser in a sense, which they did away with. And now they're updating the Sequoia with all this technology, all these new features. It's definitely a pretty cool vehicle to drive. Very, very comfortable too. Even with the TRD tuned suspension, I don't have any issues with it. Now this also has the acoustic glass for the windshield and both front windows. So it's going to provide it with a little bit more of a quieter ride. This is something that you could absolutely daily drive, get a little bit better gas mileage than the outgoing V8. And with another acceleration, very mild for today, but we're up to speed just like that, and without even hesitating, again, for the size, plenty of power for this. So getting a look from this angle, being behind the driver's seat for this $60,000, $80,000 SUV, it is so comfortable. I love how high this armrest is too. For my left arm there, it gives you a really comfortable seating position, especially with the armrest for the center area here. And it gives you enough, even with that cutout in the middle, to where you can comfortably drive this down the road. It's a pretty high SUV too, as you would expect. I believe it shares a similar platform with the Tundra. but it's super comfortable to drive. Definitely a daily driving type of SUV if you need the amount of space and the amount of room. And we'll get another angle with these side mirrors as we poke them out from this angle here. They definitely do a good job. I love the split design that they have. I'm a fan of that orientation rather than having them kind of up and down. I think this is a good design to give you that visibility that you need, especially with a trailer. Even without a trailer, it's very easy to see around. And yeah, this is definitely a cool redesign. Like I've already mentioned, I'm gonna be driving the outgoing model. So if you wanna see my better thoughts, because I haven't been behind the wheel of that one in quite some time, check out that video, because I'm sure there are a lot of differences that I will be going over for both of these models. But I think that is going to wrap it up for the all-new 2023 Toyota Sequoia Limited TRD Offroad. Once again, huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this all-new SUV for me today. Check out their website, that link is down in the description. Give the video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and smash that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on our daily uploads, and I will see you all in the next video.